Good morning. Today we're going to learn how to do a one-length haircut. So I'm going to start by sectioning the hair into 4 quadrants. We're going to go from the middle of the forehead down to the middle of the nape. And then we're going to go from the apex down to just behind the ear. Once you get the 4 quadrants sectioned, you're going to take a 1/2 inch perimeter. So you're going to follow the perimeter of the hair and just take down about a 1/2 inch section all the way around the whole head and clip up the 4 quadrants. Do the same thing in the front, 1/2 inch around the hairline. Make sure you get the complete hairline above the ear as well. And just clip up the other part of the section. So you should be able to see through the perimeter of the hair. It shouldn't be too thick. Do the same thing on the other side of the head. Just taking down that 1/2 inch perimeter. This is going to be a guide for your complete haircut. So this is where you're going to start. Comb the hair straight down in its natural falling position. So it should look like that so that you can see through the complete hair. Now we're going to tilt the head forward slightly. Make sure the head is balanced. And we're going to begin making a guide in the back of the head. This guide where you start shouldn't be wider than 1 inch. And this is going to determine the length of the whole haircut. So we're going to comb it down at 0-degree elevation. We're going to put our comb in our thumb, hold your shears, and just cut straight across. And when you're doing this, you're not using a lot of tension, so you're holding the hair very lightly so it's at its natural fall position. From here, you're going to section down the center or split the hair in half. And you're going to take a little bit from one side. And you're combing the hair at its natural falling position. So it should be hitting the back of the neck. It should not be lifted. It should not be pushed down. It should be in its natural falling position. Hold it loosely and trim off the ends. Complete all the way over till you get to the ear. And you always want to be standing in front of what you're cutting, so you need to move over to the right just a little bit, and you're just trimming to meet that guide that you made. And then you're going to continue on the other side. So you're holding just as much as you can hold between your fingers. So you don't want to take this whole section with you, because then you're over directing the hair. So you're just holding what you can hold in between your fingers like that. My guide is here, and I'm just trimming to meet my guide, holding the hair at its natural falling position. Continuing over to just behind the ear. This is considered the back of the head, so we're not going to cut past the ear at this point. Once you complete your perimeter in the back, you're going to take just behind the ear, bring it to the center, and check your balance. You want to make sure that it's even on both sides before you move on. Also, take your comb it all straight down, make sure it's all even. You always want to be checking your balance throughout, so you don't have to go back and fix. Now I'm going to move to the front. In the front, I'm going to put the head straight up, and I'm going to stand directly in front of the mannequin. I'm going to comb all of the hair down to its natural falling position. And then I'm going to begin on the sides. The reason why I begin on the sides is because my guide is in the back, so I need to follow that guide around to the front. So I'm going to begin right below the ear. So I'm going to comb the hair straight down, because I have my guide from the back now, to continue to the front to make it all one length. So I'm going to comb the hair straight down, not using too much tension, especially in the ear, because the ear sticks out a little bit. It can cause it to be shorter here. So you want to make sure that you're not pulling on the hair using too much tension in that area. I'm following my guide to the very front, coming down in its natural falling position. As you see, I'm not moving the hair from where it naturally falls. I'm not going backwards to meet the back or forward. I'm not lifting. That's elevation. We don't want to do that. We want to keep it against the neck. I'm going to continue forward and always be standing in front of what you're working on. So turn the mannequin so that you're standing directly in front of your work area. Following it to the very front. If it starts to dry, make sure that you spray it. You want the moisture in the hair to be the same throughout. Otherwise, it won't be an even cut when you finish, because when hair is dry, it shrinks a little. Even straight hair will shrink a little bit. So you want to make sure that you maintain that moisture throughout the haircut. So wet as often as you need to. Now I'm going to the opposite side. My guide is here in the back. I'm coming straight down to the floor and holding my hands in a horizontal position. Turn your hand up so you can see what you're cutting. Come straight down. Remember, again, you're near the ear now, so don't use too much tension. And then you're following through to meet the guide that you just cut on the other side. So if it's even, they should meet perfectly when you get to the center of the face. Once you finish that, you're going to take the hair from each side of the head and you're going to check for balance. If one side is longer than the other, adjust it. If it's the same, you're going to move on to the next step. At this point, the entire perimeter should be all the same length. Now we're going to turn the mannequin again, and we're going to work from the back. So we're going to continue doing the haircut from the back of the head. So you can move this hair forward, move your mannequin down slightly, make sure she's balanced. So if you need to use your mirror in front of you to make sure her head's not tilted, you want to make sure of that. Clients tend to move their head sometimes, so you have to make sure that they're in the correct position when you're cutting. Otherwise, the haircut could come out uneven. So now what I'm going to do is take down a 1-inch section in the back, clip the rest up, and I'm going to continue cutting the same manner as I cut the perimeter. Now I have a guide from what I cut already. So you'll be able to see your guide through these pieces that you just pulled down. And you're going to cut at that length. Don't cut your perimeter. That's your guide. So you don't want to be cutting any more of that, and you'll just make the hair shorter. You want to use that as a guide, meaning you cut to meet that guide. So when I take these pieces down, I'm meeting the guide underneath. So I'm just cutting the longer pieces. So the guide is here. So we're going straight down, see our guide, cut. If you can't see a clear guide, your section may be too big. So go back and make your section a little bit smaller so that you can see what you're doing. Now you go back, alternating sides. So now I'm taking another inch down, combing the hair straight down at its natural fall position, standing directly in front of what I'm working on. See my guide and cut to meet it. And you're just going to alternate back and forth all the way up the back of the head. Comb the hair straight down. Little snips. Back and forth. Nice, neat, clean subsections, partings. Always make sure you see your guide before you cut. Take your section down. As long as you can see through it, it's okay to take a little bit bigger sections as you get up this high on the head. If you can't see your guide, make your section smaller. So I'm just cutting to meet my guide. Alternate to the other side until you have completed the entire back. So at this point, we're just cutting behind the ear, which is considered the back of the head. We're not cutting the front yet, so we're stopping at the ear. My sections are bigger now, but I can still see a guide, so it's okay. If the hair was a lot thicker, more dense, you may want to take smaller sections. If you can't see your guide, make your section smaller. So I'm going to continue over here until I see the ear, and I'm just cutting to meet my guide. You want to cut at the natural fall position. Don't bring the hair back. You will over direct the hair, and what will happen is the front will end up being longer than the back when you put the head up straight. So you want to make sure that you are coming to the side of the back when you're cutting that. I'm turning my mannequin back. And now I'm going to comb this hair straight down like it would naturally fall. Sometimes people tend to want to comb the crown back. Hair doesn't fall back like that naturally, so you want to make sure that there's a part in the center and that you're combing to the sides of the back of the head. Start in the center and follow your guide all the way to the ear. Make sure your body moves with what you're cutting, or turn your mannequin. Either way, you need to be standing in front of what you're working on. Okay, so now the back is one length. So you're going to go in here and you're going to check again your balance. Make sure both sides are the same length. When you're checking, don't lift. Check the same way you cut. So you're checking your balance by pulling the hair straight down, natural fall, and then bringing it to the center to make sure these two pieces are the same. You can also comb straight down with your comb and check the balance that way. When you get to the bottom, you will see if there's any pieces longer than the other pieces. Okay, so now we've completed the back and we're going to go to the front. So in the front, we're going to put the head up straight. And we're going to go turn to the side. And we're going to do one side at a time. So we're going to cut this side first, taking down 1 inch to 2 inch sections, depending on the density of the hair. Again, if it's very thick, you need to take smaller sections. As long as you can see a guide through the hair, it's okay. The size of your section is okay. Okay? So just cut straight across to meet your guide and continue taking your sections down and coming straight down, natural fall. So it's going to come over the face. You're not going to comb this back. Come straight down to the floor. At this point, there may not be too much to cut, depending on the mannequin that you're using. So straight across. Take this rest of this section down. Now I'm just coming straight down, natural fall. We're not over directing one way or the other. We're just combing the hair straight down to the floor and taking off anything that falls below the perimeter or the guide that I just cut. Okay, she's starting to dry, so you want to make sure you maintain that even moisture in the hair. And check your balance. So now the front and the back should be the same length. You're checking. And now I'm moving to the opposite side. And I'm going to do the same procedure that I just did. Taking down 1-inch sections, coming straight down to the floor, making sure the hair has the same even moisture throughout. So if it starts to dry, spray it with your water bottle. Comb straight down, make sure the head is straight up. Comb straight down to the floor, stand in front of what you're working on. See your guide and cut to meet. Now I have a complete guide all the way from my perimeter, so I should be able to follow that when I get over here to the side of the head. Continue taking down your sections. Like I said before, they can be a little bigger. 2 inches is okay as long as you can see a guide through them. Comb the hair down, see my guide. Make sure you're following your comb with your fingers all the way down until you see your guide. Once you see your guide, remove your comb and trim off at the guide. Comb the rest of the hair straight down. Remember, over the face, find your guide and cut. Comb straight down. See your guide and cut. It's very little that I'm taking off right now. It's just wispy hairs. Okay, I've completed the entire haircut. So what I'm going to do now is check balance. So if you comb the hair straight down at its natural fall, you hold each side, bring it to the center of her face, and both sides should be the same length when you bring it to the center. If one side is longer, you're just going to snip it right there to get it even, and then you're going to even it out across the side. So there was just a tiny bit right there in the front that I had to even out. And that's the complete haircut. So this is a 1 length haircut.